game, and it was the first time that a overtime. It's hard to believe, and I was thinking about this. This is the first time, not only the first time, both conference championship games went into overtime. This is the first time that an AFC title game went into overtime since 1986. Cleveland versus the Browns versus the Broncos. Remember the drive, folks? Remember the drive where John Elway drive? I don't remember how many yards it was to get the touchdown, and the Broncos won it in overtime to beat the Browns in overtime. Y'all remember? Anybody who's older than me who's listening, y'all remember that game? You know, I was about 3 years old when that happened. So it was I remember watching that game. Even the greatest games. Excuse me. Greatest games. It was a fun game to watch. It really was, you know. But you know. But the Chiefs have chances. It really did. Now, as far as the NFC goes, that they blew that call. They blew that call, plain and simple. That call in the end of third down. If they do not call that third down, if they would have thrown that flag, not only the Saints were scored, the Saints are on their way to the Super Bowl. But instead, Drew Brees threw a pass, and one of the Rams defensive linemen knocked it down, and it was intercepted, and all hell breaks loose. And Skillinger made a game-winning 58-yard field goal, and it was a long field goal. If it wasn't for a dome, I don't know if he would have made that long kick when it's 9 degrees or colder, you know. So nevertheless, the Los Angeles Rams are going to once again. The Rams are going to the Super Bowl for the first time since 2001, and face a familiar face with the New England Patriots. You know, the first team that Tom Brady beat. You know. And as far as the AFC title, as far as the NFC, let's spend a little time on the NFC title game. The Saints, how the Saints lose this game is beyond me. I don't know what to. I'm not surprised that on the AFC side, on the AFC Championship game side, I'm not surprised that the Patriots won the game. Because you see why the Patriots won the game and why they won the game and how they execute. On the other hand, on the AFC title, on the NFC Championship game, you're scratching your head and say to yourself, how do Rams win this game? Because the Saints was dominate this game from top to bottom. They dominated this game. They had their way with the Rams. The Rams couldn't do nothing. They couldn't do nothing. Am I right or am I wrong? The Rams couldn't do nothing in this game. You know? And they didn't use Todd Gurley at all. They used C.J. Anderson to have the running game, and even though he was moving the football a little bit, but it was the Saints written all over it. Point blank, period. And yes, that call was a horrendous call. It was a horrendous call. It was a horrendous call, and I understand why the Saints felt like they were robbed, and rightfully so. You know, but I don't know if I give Sean McVay I give Jared Goff a lot of credit. You know, he found a way to put his team in a good position. He found a way to put his team in a good position to not only tie the game, to win the game as well. And for that, that's kudos to Jared Goff, because throughout the rest of the game, he couldn't hear nothing. The crowd noise was so much of a factor. It really was. It was so much of a factor to the Rams, and for them to come in a hostile environment and escaped. That's basically what the Rams did. They escaped. Okay, it's really remarkable. I'm telling you, this is why we watch. You want to know what? I said this again. This is why we watch sports, because it's always something crazy is happening. It really is. It's always something crazy is happening. You know, on that fourth down, on the last 19 minutes to the regulation, because it was a championship game, I felt they would have gone for it. But I have no problem whatsoever for Sean McVay to say, you know what, kick the extra point, go to overtime. I understand it. I'm not going to say a lot of coaches. Some coaches will go for it. Will go for the touchdown. But I think when you're in the red zone, and I learned this from Mike Francesa, when you're in the red zone, you gotta walk away with points. Whether it's 7 or 3. You cannot leave the red zone with no points. You can't. Because if you leave the red zone with no points, no matter what, you're gonna put your team in a strength. You're gonna put your team in a hole that you probably not gonna come back from. And sometimes it will decide the game too. In this case, to me, if the Rams would have gone for it on fourth down when it was 20-7, when the Saints were leading 20-17, the Saints would have won that game right then and there. The Saints would have won that game right then and there. I'll tell you that right now. If the Rams would have made it, but be as it may, I don't know. We look at it 1,000 times, or the rest probably may smoking weed or a blunt or something. But you cannot miss that call. You cannot miss that call. That is pass interference written all over it. And for them and listen, since '79, there's always been blown calls. Always. There's been blown calls whether it's an AFC title game or a playoff game. There's always a missed blown call. Like in that yesterday, the neutral zone infraction. Tony Romo was saying, everybody would say it was a good call, but I didn't see his hands. Where was his finger to get the neutral zone infraction? Where was his hands to get the neutral zone infraction in Kansas City, for the Kansas City for Jones, which turned out to be a huge mistake for Kansas City. Because if it wasn't for that penalty, the Chiefs would have won this game. The Chiefs would have gone to the Super Bowl. And same thing with the element. The same thing with the element play. The muff punt call. I try to look at it Very different way. From the other angle, from the other left angle, from the left side, from the right, it looked like his thumb touched it a little bit. But I look at it 1,000 times carefully and look at it real good. It turned out in a way they didn't make the call, which brings me back to, I know if I'm all over the place, I do apologize. With that said, I believe that out of all the plays they could have got and got the plays corrected, how you missed that defensive pass interference? I want to see.
Preparing food for federal workers. It felt wonderful to be here preparing the food.
I don't know if that would change the whole complexion of the game.
The very first
I really
year that we would have needed to prepare food for federal workers who are employed by our government. It's troubling.
And in the results,
did you ever think, that you sort of would see the irony in this?
In the results,
these are people who are actually supposed to be getting paid.
The Rams on their way to the Super Bowl. Now, as far as the overtime,
workers that are here supporting our federal government and
player
supporting individuals that
going
live
to
in this
overtime,
country, and it really is a shame that we have to prepare food for them, but we want them to know that we are really with them and we're behind them.
Yeah, and Brooke, we're hearing that from a lot of people we spoke to here today.
As far as the overtime game,
to their fellow
I just want to say this.
And Brooke, is, I'm sure you've been talking to a lot of people.
As far as the overtime, should the overtime rules should change?
We're happy to lend their hand to help.
Yep, everyone's seen as doomsday.
I don't think so, because they already changed the overtime rule already.
They're feeling it.
If the overtime rule would, if the Chiefs would have played defense, and if Drew Brees did not make that mistake, y'all want to say, "Oh, they should have changed the play, they should have changed the call and stuff."
Presidential candidates,
they would have changed it.
Look at what they're doing to court African American voters.
So for me, I want to change it. But if this continues, to be a habit, but you gotta play defense. You gotta play defense. You gotta do it. So it's not the first time I heard that from everybody that the overtime rule must change. No. The Chiefs didn't play. The Chiefs lost because they didn't play defense. That's what happened.
Lots of investment firms talk.
The Chiefs gave the Patriots too much of an inch, even a little inch. You give them an inch, they will take advantage of it, and
if you have psoriasis, little things.
And as far as I'm concerned, the Saints made a mistake that cost them the game.
Not a cream. It's a pill that treats moderate to severe.
It really did, and it brings us to the Super Bowl between the Rams and the Patriots, which should be a lot of fun in 2 weeks. And down in Atlanta. And on Martin Luther King Day,
your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache.
And on that note, that's going to do it for this edition of Drew Media Live. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to this episode again, please go to Spreaker.com, type in the keyword Andrew L. Perry, and please follow my show on Facebook, on Twitter, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Until then, this is Andrew Perry, always saying to you, shalom and let peace go with you, and I'll talk to you in the next Drew Media Live. So long, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.